Today we're learning more about the Madison County Sheriff's deputy who was shot yesterday and how this shooting affected his colleagues.
The Madison County man who shot a deputy was sentenced to 2 years in prison last year. So why was he released early? We're digging for answers coming up.
We have the clouds still out and about with a few sprinkles here and there. We're going to see thunderstorms start firing away here in just a few hours. We'll talk about that and your weekend forecast coming up.
This is WKYT News at Noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Barbara Bailey. A Kentucky sheriff's deputy is recovering at home this midday after being shot during a traffic stop. Investigators say Madison County Deputy Kevin Crutcher stopped 51-year-old Daniel Pigg's truck outside his home on Arthur Jackson Road in Berea yesterday afternoon.
When Pigg got out of the truck, he pulled out a gun and shot Crutcher, who then returned fire, killing Pigg. That's what the investigation reveals. WKYT's Monique Blair is live in Richmond with the latest on the investigation, and she begins our top story team coverage at noon.
Hi, Bill and Barbara. Yes, today Deputy Kevin Crutcher is home with his family, and though he is expected to make a full recovery from that gunshot wound that hit the left side of his abdomen yesterday, his colleague here at the sheriff's office tells me Deputy Crutcher is just going through a lot of emotions today. Now, Deputy Michael Stotts with the sheriff's office tells us Daniel Pigg shot Deputy Crutcher with a pistol. Again, Deputy Crutcher was shot in his left side, and I'm told that wound was more than just a graze. Some may say he is lucky because he was not wearing a bulletproof vest. Deputy Stotts says because Deputy Crutcher is a detective with the sheriff's office, detectives don't always wear vests while investigating. Now, Deputy Stotts says this entire situation is tough, and the sheriff's office is extending their condolences to everyone involved.
We understand that Mr. Pigg had a family, and our condolences go out to his family. Deputy Crutcher reacted the way he was trained, and even injured, he reacted the way that he was trained.
Now, Deputy Crutcher is on administrative leave right now, and Deputy Stotts tells us he's not sure at this time when he will return back to work. Reporting live in Madison County, Monique Blair, WKYT.
Monique, thank you. The Madison County Sheriff's Office tells us Deputy Crutcher was aware that Pigg did have a warrant for his arrest.
We're learning more about the man who opened fire on the deputy before being shot and killed. Officials at the Madison County Detention Center say Daniel Pigg was booked into the detention center 6 times from 2011 to 2014. WKYT's Mark Barber continues our top story team coverage with more on Pigg's troubled past.
The man who shot the deputy was booked here into the Madison County Detention Center 5 times in 4 years. When yesterday's shooting happened, Daniel Pigg was out on probation. I've been searching through court records, and I've learned that he has violated his probation before. The 51-year-old's neighbors say he had a rough past. I spent hours this morning looking through criminal records to figure out what that looked like. Here's what I found in the Department of Corrections records. Pigg was in and out of jail on a number of charges until he was sentenced to 2 years on felony drug charges in 2014. He only spent 4 months in state prisons because he was granted parole. Then last year, Pigg was convicted on a felony theft charge and sentenced to another 2 years. He did not serve the time, though, because the judge granted him probation. That's when Pigg slipped off his probation officer's radar. Until yesterday, he had been missing for 11 months. As I went through court records, I found several red flags that lead to the question, why was the 51-year-old released from prison early? Back in 2012, a judge said that she would not give him the option to be released without paying bond because he was a flight risk and a danger to the community. A year later, court records show that Pigg violated the terms of his probation on another charge. When I asked the Department of Corrections why Pigg was granted probation after he had been sentenced to 2 years last year, they said that they would work to get an answer for us. We're still waiting to hear back from them. In Richmond, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you. And state police say another man, Joseph Curtis, was in the truck with Pigg during yesterday's shooting. Curtis doesn't want to talk to us from jail. Court records show his only run-ins with the law were for minor drug and traffic offenses.
Well, it is a wet day in parts of the Bluegrass State today. Rounds of showers and storms carrying through the afternoon and into the evening hours. Most of us will dry out briefly tomorrow, and then another system, it looks to be heading in about Saturday. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live in our First Alert Weather Center with details.
Yeah, and there's your front right back to the west of us. Now, it's trying to push through, and we're going to see that push through as we head through your day tomorrow. So it's going to take its sweet little time, which means one thing. Look for these rounds of showers and thunderstorms the rest of the day today and off into tomorrow, too, especially south of 64 tomorrow. Temperatures are there in the 70s. I don't see it budging too much more. We're going to be seeing a system not only push through, but also another one on the way. I'm going to show you when you can expect that one and any severe weather out of any of these. I'll have that coming up in just a few minutes.
Micah, thank you. A man is facing charges this midday, accused of breaking into cars at a Central Kentucky cemetery over the weekend. 35-year-old David Harris is charged with theft. Investigators say he stole purses from 2 parked cars at the Georgetown Cemetery. WKYT's Caitlin Sentner is in Scott County now to tell us how police were able to catch up with the suspect. Caitlin?
Police say the Georgetown Cemetery just isn't a place where crime happens. They say they're disgusted after an alleged thief used a window of opportunity to snatch purses. Police say it was a busy weekend at the cemetery. Just looking around, you can see a lot of flowers by the graves. Police say David Harris used that to his advantage. They say the 35-year-old got into unlocked cars and stole purses while people were out visiting their loved ones. But someone spotted the alleged thief in his getaway car and snapped a picture. It was that picture that led police to their guy. Captain Robert Swanigan hopes the arrest brings some justice to those who fell victim to crime while paying respects.
You're not thinking about, I need to lock my car door, or I'm going to be a victim of a crime. I mean, you're thinking about going and paying respects to your loved ones. It's sad. I mean, and thank goodness in all the cases with the purses, there wasn't a lot of cash that was taken. It was small amounts of cash, but it's the items that are in the purses that's really hard to place.
Swanigan says he's proud of the quick work detectives did to catch their suspect. David Harris is expected in Scott County Court this afternoon. In Georgetown, Caitlin Setner, WKYT.
Caitlin, thank you. Coming up on WKYT News at 4, we'll hear from a woman who visits the cemetery every day and how she stays safe. The number of truckers arrested for driving under the influence of drugs is on the rise. A WKYT investigation found more commercial truck drivers were cited for drug violations than alcohol last year. A spokesperson for the Kentucky Trucking Association says communication between the 1,400 trucking companies is key to making sure drivers aren't high on the roads.
Certain drugs are becoming more acceptable in society. It has put a greater burden on transportation, especially trucking, to keep that from being a big hindrance in how we hire drivers.
Tonight on WKYT News at 6, our Miranda Combs rides along with one trucking company to see what they do to make sure their drivers are safe.
A Central Kentucky judge is challenging one of Governor Matt Bevin's most recent executive orders. Franklin Circuit Judge Philip Shepard is concerned about the governor's order to abolish the Workers' Compensation Nomination Commission and recreate it with new members. Judge Shepard compared the order to a neutron bomb, saying, quote, "It destroyed all the people but left the structure in place." The judge has not ruled in the case, but he called the governor's actions troubling. Well, a sky-high attraction is coming to northern Kentucky, something to ride.
The city of Newport, Kentucky, and a St. Louis-based company have reached a deal to build a Ferris wheel along the Ohio River. The Sky Wheel will be 235 feet tall and feature 30 six-person glass-enclosed gondolas. They'll be climate-controlled, so the ride can be operated all night long. The Sky Wheel will cost $10 million to build and is expected to be open by next summer.
Should be some good views from up there.
Yeah, really, pretty amazing.
Right. Well, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton is spending more time attacking presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump ahead of next week's primary in California. We'll have the latest from the campaign trail coming up on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
Also ahead, the Terminator met his match in South Africa. We'll tell you about Arnold Schwarzenegger's scary brush with nature next on WKYT. Welcome back to WKYT News at Noon. Hillary Clinton was supposed to campaign in New Jersey today, but she changed those plans and is instead heading to California, where she'll take on not just one, but two opponents.
Weijia Jiang has the latest now from the presidential campaign trail.
Hillary Clinton is in San Diego today, where she plans to make the case that Donald Trump's foreign policy is bad for America.
And on issue after issue, we see someone who is unqualified and unfit to be President of the United States.
Aides tell us her speech will focus on dangerous policies that Trump has espoused, ranging from nuclear proliferation to endorsing war crimes, from denouncing NATO to banning Muslims.
She lies. She lies.
Trump played offense in Sacramento last night, saying it's Clinton who has made the world more volatile.
So her Libya invasion, decisions on Syria, Iraq, and Iran have made the Middle East more dangerous than ever before. And you know that.
Trump isn't the only reason Clinton is heading to California. Her Democratic opponent, Bernie Sanders, has been gaining ground in the polls there ahead of next week's primary. Sanders says he is gaining momentum because his populist message is attracting new voters.
We're going to open up the Democratic Party to all of the people.
A new poll out this morning shows Clinton with a 2-point lead, which is within the poll's margin of error. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, the White House.
Now, Clinton needs just 73 delegates to give her a majority needed to clinch the Democratic presidential nomination. President Obama is in Colorado Springs this midday. It's ahead of his final commencement speech as Commander-in-Chief. It will be later this afternoon. He will address graduates of the Air Force Academy. White House officials say the president will use an optimistic tone about how young military members should approach the future. The speech comes as the president weighs whether to once again increase the number of troops that he'll leave in Afghanistan. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets almost terminated in a really close encounter with a very speedy elephant.
Very frightening. The video was taken on safari in South Africa. First, the animal blocks the road, then inspects the group in the vehicle before chasing it down as it drives away. And you can hear Arnold say, quote, he's going to charge us. The former governor has been documenting his trip on social media. He posted the encounter on Instagram, saying he couldn't have written it better, even if it had been a movie. There you go. It shows a lot with those pictures. Yep. A British hospital staff got the royal treatment for saving the life of a wounded warrior. Prince Harry awarded an Invictus Games gold medal to the Papworth medical team at Kensington Palace. The medal was meant for U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Elizabeth Marks, but she insisted the hospital staff receive the honor. They treated her for a life-threatening lung condition after she collapsed ahead of the 2014 Games in London. Marks won gold medals in 4 swimming events at the second Invictus Games in Florida last month.
Well, police have released their findings in the investigation of a mother and father in Cincinnati whose child climbed into the gorilla exhibit at the zoo there last weekend.
We'll have the latest on that investigation coming up in a report on WKYT News at 12:30.
Watching the rest of the afternoon for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. That'll take you off into your weekend, too. I'll show you the best chances of rain when I expect those coming up next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Looking at some of these showers, some of these rumbles of thunder picking up right across that 64 corridor and at least around that. That's where we're seeing some heavy downpours at this very moment. Let's zoom on in. Let me show you where they are and where they are headed. You look toward Winchester, right there in Clark County, downtown Winchester, the bypass, that area over toward Walmart. We're going to be seeing that make its way toward Mount Sterling. So if you're rolling across Highway 60 and go back toward Mount Sterling, even Jeffersonville, Camargo, and southern portions of Montgomery County, just know this, here comes some pretty heavy downpours. And remember, these last, once they pass through Winchester, you'll be done with at least that rain for about an hour or two. So you might have some time to get out to the grocery store or get out and about and knock some of these things on out. Hillsboro, you're kind of in that line where you're going to have one shower after another. Heavy downpour in downtown at this moment, heading toward southern portions of Lewis County. Flemingburg, you're out of the way as of right now, but we've still got some more back toward Sharpsburg and make your way even farther toward the west as we continue to watch this rain move toward the northeast. So that area right through there, anywhere around, not so much along, nobody lives on the interstate, but around it, that's where you're going to be seeing one shower after another for the next couple of hours. You work your way southbound, not much rain right now, but here's what I expect as we travel off into the rest of the afternoon and into the evening hours. We will have spotty showers and thunderstorms today. It's about 60%, so most of us do actually see some rain. Then we head off toward the evening and nighttime hours. It kind of fades away just a bit. It's not a very strong system, and that's the first front. Here's the first front trying to move on out. 5 p.m. tomorrow for your Friday, it looks best, the best chance, south of I-64. So today is spotty showers and thunderstorms for all. But then tomorrow, you're talking about south of I-64. That's your best bet. That moves out. If you're looking for any break for the weekend, I would say your best bet on Saturday should be the morning hours. That's not going to be fully dry. I'm just saying that's your best chance to stay dry. Saturday and Sunday, the best chance out of those 2 days as this next front moves through. I would say Saturday looks better opportunity to see wet weather as opposed to Sunday. And there's your weekend planner with temperatures holding on to the 70s in the forecast. And then we look to hold on to the 70s next week too, guys, and try to dry some things on out. So spotty storms today. Got to watch out. Maybe even a strong cell or a severe cell firing away. But for the most part, we're going to focus in on heavy downpours and a lot of lightning within these as they spark up.
Okay, we'll keep watch on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming right back on WKYT, one college baseball coach gets a huge deal.
And is Coach John Calipari serious? Dave Baker's next with sports.
And let's check stocks as we head to the break this afternoon. The major market indicators are down some.
Okay, so for those of you who laugh it off, NASCAR starts its season with its biggest race. So yesterday at the SEC meetings in Sandestin, John Calipari suggested that the SEC do the same, like moving the SEC basketball tournament to November instead of March. Cal's never been a big fan of conference tournaments. He said instead of single elimination, all teams would be guaranteed 3 games. In a beachside sit-down on the Paul Feinbaum show, Calipari also told the host that he and Isaiah Briscoe will be spending extra time together.
Isaiah, who had a choice to go or come back, decides to come back. He and I are going to have a great meeting a day before everyone else comes back to put a great plan together, because it's not only on him now, it's on me now. We got to do this together. Failure is not an option in this case. When you come back, this got to work, and it's got to work for these reasons.
Love the basketball tire on the beach. Briscoe decided against the NBA, so too did Marcus Lee. He came back, though, and transferred. Widely reported yesterday that he would probably commit to Cal, but Evan Daniels of Scout says his sources say that Lee visited Washington on Wednesday. He visited California on Tuesday. Speaking of transfers in Kentucky, Alexis Jennings left the Wildcats early last month, and now she has landed at South Carolina. Coach Dawn Staley announcing the transfer. Jennings, a sophomore post player out of Alabama, started 18 games for the Cats last season. She averaged 10.7 boards. Jennings will sit out and then have 2 years of eligibility left. That also means 2 years to play against the Cats, and it also means Matthew Mitchell had to okay her transfer to another school inside the SEC. And at this time yesterday, we told you after Gary Henderson's resignation as UK baseball coach, Louisville's Dan McDonnell would be a prime target, and U of L Athletics Director Tom Jurich quickly took care of that, announcing that McDonnell had agreed to a 10-year contract extension worth $10.6 million. That makes him the highest paid college baseball coach in the country. McDonnell led the Cards to 3 College World Series, 7 ACC titles. This year, they're the #2 national seed. The deal is for $1 million a season with a $600,000 retention bonus. Tonight on the Big Blue Insider, Ryan Lemon sitting in for Dick Gabriel, talking about all of the activity at the SEC meetings and what's ahead for Wildcat baseball. That's at 6 on 630 WLAP. Guys, that's a look at sports on your Thursday.
All right, Dave, thank you. And there's a lot more coming up in the next half hour of WKYT News at noon.
A man who embezzled millions of dollars from a Lexington business is facing a long prison sentence.
I'm Monique Blair in Madison County. Coming up on WKYT at 12:30, we have new details regarding the deputy-involved shooting that happened yesterday.
Friday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $251 million, and Saturday night's Powerball jackpot is $110 million.